Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on the Web Experience Management webinar. Today, our presenter, my name is Christine Hallam, and I'm from Connecting Up. And today's presenter is Chris Harrop from Aqueous, and he will take you through a range of interesting concepts and explain to you what web experience management is. And if you do have any questions, please type them in the question or chat box on your webinar platform, and we will address them all at the end of the presentation, so we make sure that we go through all the slides first. Other than that, if we do, depending on the number of questions that we get, we might run over time, but we're recording the session today, so all of you will get a link to access the recording after, so you can catch up at your own leisure. Other than that, I think I would just pass you on directly to Chris, as he does have a quite fair bit to cover. Chris, over to you.
Thanks, Christine. Hi, everyone. My name's Chris Harrop. I'm the Asia Pacific and Japan Regional Director for Aqueous. My email address is on the screen, and I'm joining you from Sydney today. Today's topic is around web experience management. I'm going to start with just a short video just around Drupal and web experience management.
Just to let you know that there is no sound from the video because... Oh, there is.
So as you can see, today's topic is not only around web experience management, but it's really looking at Drupal, which is an open source content management system, and how that can meet the demands of web experience management today. As an agenda, I'm essentially going to give you some background as to what web experience management is, and as with all technology, there's a three-letter acronym. So for web experience management, it's WEM. So the aim is to really get you across this new acronym and this new concept of what we're seeing out there in the market today. I'm also going to overlay that with some research from Forrester on open source to meet this demand for WEM. And then we're going to look at some examples of non-for-profits that are exploring these different options around WEM. Key takeaways, I think really just two. So if you can walk away today with these two, I think we've done a pretty good job. Obviously I want to give you some education around the term WEM, and I really want you to walk away thinking that Drupal is an option for you to investigate, and obviously just the fact that it's free. Aqueous itself works with Drupal, so Drupal being an open source web content management system. The current slogan that's coming around the world is "Dream it, Drupal it," and that's really this idea that you can create very fantastic digital experiences for both online and mobile. The logo that those birds are going off to create is the Drupal drop. This is the logo of Drupal. And where does Aqueous fit into the picture? So the guy that created Drupal is Aqueous' founder and our CTO today. What this really does is it combines the speed of innovation and the sense of community that exists with Drupal. And what Aqueous brings to the table is really an enterprise capability behind that platform by really removing any perceived risk with that. So it allows organizations right up to the very highest office in the US in government through to financial institutions and large media companies to adopt Drupal with confidence because they have an organization that is also global sitting behind the platform. And this has meant that Aqueous has been very successful since its inception. Last year we were the fastest growing software company in the US of the Inc. 500 awards, and we're listed as one of Forbes' most exciting companies to watch. Technically, what do? We have a cloud platform that can host Drupal, so we aim to provide the very best hosting environment for Drupal deployments. We wrap this in a series of tools that we've built and also third-party tools that we've sourced for you. And then we wrap this in an enterprise support program. So you get the best environment, the best tools to make development easier, and then we give the assurance that your Drupal site will stay live. And this is meant for, in this picture, when Hurricane Sandy hit New York, that the Metro Transit Authority website was able to sustain very high levels of traffic as hundreds of thousands of people were stranded trying to get home. So it was tested up to about 30,000 concurrent users. You also saw at the Grammys when Whitney Houston died, when they almost had touching 100 million page views in a day on their website as people flocked and were starting to write comments about Whitney Houston ahead of the Grammys. So the idea is that Aqueous, when combined with Drupal, gives you an enterprise capability by using this open source platform. Drupal itself is the largest open source community in the world. We've got close to 1 million members now, where those members are in 228 countries. There's over 22,000 modules that someone has gone out and built for you on Drupal. So the idea of, instead of going out and custom coding websites, that you can construct websites from components that have already been built for you. That's the vision of where Drupal and pretty much the whole technology market is going. There's not really much need to go ahead and start custom building these days. And then within the community as well, you've got close to 27,000 contributing developers. And really this kind of really does drive that idea of speed of innovation. So instead of being a commercial vendor where you might have 100 guys in an office somewhere else in the world that you have to petition to get changes to the product, you've got these thousands and thousands of developers around the world. So when new things come online, like Pinterest or Google+, that integration is built pretty much straight away. And obviously, kind of the larger component of why Drupal's been so successful is that it's provided as a open source technology, and it's free to download and use. It's probably important to note as well that it's not an open source product that then requires you to have a commercial offering for all those different modules. Everything within the Drupal community is designed to be free and available under open source. Dries, who is our CTO and the founder of the project, is very adamant around this idea that open source should be open source across the whole community. There are open source projects out there that people are commercial off of their module development. I guess then when we talk to people about the software being free to download and use, there is a perception that this is only suitable for very basic websites, where you've got blogging and brochure websites. This is a suitable technology, but if you require something that connects through to different systems, that has a very innovative interface or website and front end, that you need to go and buy commercial software. And really the purpose of the presentation today is to use a little bit of a Jedi mind trick and to really say that you should be opening your mind to the possibilities of what Drupal can deliver. Bear in mind that this slide was used at a developer conference, so this is why there's obviously a Star Wars reference in there. And this fits nicely under this banner of web experience management. So web experience management is this idea that the web is evolving to have lots of different bits of functionality that are available through your web, that really, regardless of whether you're government, in not-for-profit, if you're in finance or media, that your digital experience, your online experience is really becoming the crux of your business operation. And in order to do that, that obviously has a level of complexity associated with it by connecting up different systems. So the background to this is that within any large organization, the web is effectively broken. You've got lots of different systems doing lots of different things. Different people have gone out to do different projects. You may have historic staff who might have had a flavor of technology that they preferred. They built one site in that technology and somebody else comes along and builds it in another. You may have intranets and digital asset management systems. You might have microsites, community platforms. What this means to the business is that you've got all these disparate systems. You've got duplication of content across those, very fragmented experiences for your users who are coming to your site. It's very costly to manage, and it's clearly not a scalable solution. And this is increasing. So what we're finding in the web today is that it's not just, if we went back 10 years and we saw that organizations were having a one corporate website and that was kind of the vision for the web, we're now seeing that you'll have your main corporate site, you'll have your intranet, you might have a community platform, you might have several campaign sites, you might have event sites, a wiki, you might have a media gallery, you might have a commerce site. So there's many sites, and this is again common regardless of the industry vertical that you're in. We're starting to see this explosion of the web as a central focus of business operation. To simplify that though, what's really kind of emerging within web experience management is the idea that there are three effective components of this. You've got that traditional web content management piece, which is this idea that you have content created by your own content editors and creators that are pushing out to your existing digital properties. Obviously over the last few years, the emergence of social media, be that your own community sites or support forums, but then also combining with social media platforms, obviously most commonly with people like Facebook or LinkedIn, but countless others, and also ones that we haven't even thought of yet. And then also something around commerce, the ability to transact on a site. And again, what we're finding is that that's traditionally the purvey of a retailer that has driven kind of e-commerce requirements, but now we're seeing that pretty much every site, regardless of industry vertical, is now having a commerce transaction capability on it. To simplify that even further and to kind of make it nice and tidy, we're kind of calling these content, community, and commerce. But obviously outside of the content that we have on the site, one of the things that's become obvious to us over the last few years, the digital community, is that the engagement of either the citizen for government or the shopper for retail or the person who donates within not-for-profit, it's not a linear transaction anymore. It's no longer trying to engage someone and then at the end of the day, once they've donated, that they disappear. It's very much circular. We have to attract them through SEO and paid keywords on natural search engines. We have to run campaigns. We draw them to a website or a mobile site where we need to keep them there. We have to have relevant content. We have to have videos. We have to have images. And to be part of a community on that site, so they associate with their peers. They have forums that they might connect into. We also want them to go off and start to influence their behavior onto other social media platforms to start talking about the site or the content that we have. We also want the ability to go and sell or transact with them or get them to donate or whatever that commerce component is on the site. And then we also need to retain them. So this idea of kind of drawing in analytics, of drawing in your customer relationship management, your CRM tool to be able to store that information, and then using that information to then target and be better prepared for the next round of engaging with your community. And this idea isn't new. I remember presenting on a topic called CXM a couple of years ago. This was from Forrester research. And really this is this idea of, it's called customer experience management. This is where you see people like Oracle who have gone out and bought, in 1 week they bought Endeca, and then right now to kind of complete this picture they spent close to $3 billion on those technologies. So there's obviously a big movement within the commercial space to be able to achieve this. But really it's this idea of, again, combining different sources of content together. So you can see on the left-hand side you have web content management, we have personalization and marketing tools, we've got commerce platforms, we've got analytics, we've got search capabilities. It's the same concept I was just introducing, just under a different three-letter acronym. And on the right-hand side, what you also find is that we also see this circular motion of engagement. And what this one does is it talks about the touch points as people evangelize or personalize and conduct research within a retail environment in order to complete that transaction. So the idea of having all these different content items and having this circular motion of engagement, it isn't new. It's something that's definitely becoming more prevalent in the last couple of years, and WM fits within that picture. The purpose of this slide, and again this is from Forrester, is just to talk about the different technology components to achieve that. So if I'm talking about the management, I've got authoring tools, I need to probably consider multilingual capabilities, I've got campaign management from a marketing perspective, my process management and my workflow at the back end. I also then have engagement, so again through social, through being able to target content and email campaigns. I need to be able to personalize, and then on top of that I need this measurement capability to be able to take in analytics from multiple different sources, be that my own databases or even social media forums, and then also to be able to run A/B or multivariate testing on those. And for those of you not familiar with those concepts, it's really the idea, A/B testing or multivariate testing is the idea that you don't make a decision up front and try to do a big bang approach. You really just try lots of different things and see which one sticks. So rather than making a large investment, you make small investments up front and then see which ones work. So it could be that you're trying different keywords or different ways to describe or different campaigns, and you might try those through a social media forum or a quick, cheap campaign site and see if it works before you invest your money into that campaign. And interestingly, I've seen this expand beyond what's traditionally the kind of the area of marketing into technology. So even Google today uses the idea of multivariate or A/B testing on their product development. So if they come up with something new within Google Mail, for example, they will deploy that only to a few number of users, and they will check to see whether people like it or not, whether people switch it on, whether they switch it off. And if they find that people are liking it, they'll go ahead and build it. If they find that no one really likes it, they just drop it. It's this idea that you need to be agile and need to kind of try things out before you really invest into them. So within, and to kind of break down this a bit further, one of the reports that you can get from the Aqueous website on web experience management then talks to all of the different components of this life cycle around creating a campaign, connecting, converting, and capture. So and to talk about that kind of A/B multivariate testing again, in traditional web development you have a big plan and you have a big launch. Now we've definitely moved towards this agile environment whereby you start small, you start lean, and you iterate through and you figure out what's the right way to go as you build. So part of this cycle is really to talk to that. So in the first part, which is create, it's really about setting your measures for success. Segmentation has always been part and parcel of marketing and campaign management. And now we're in an era of being able to be very, very focused in that segmentation, because we have the ability to go and draw on much more data with which to make those decisions, and much better analytics tools with which to go and investigate them. So from buzz and social media monitoring, online surveys, or research tools, I can go and create my idea with greater success leading down the line in order to measure that. The next area is really under kind of combining that create and connect, so into lead generation. Really what you're looking to do here is test that minimal viable content that you just created and identify the bits that work. So you need to be able to go and then also push out to all of the different media and engagement capabilities that you have in your organization. So when you're deploying a new website, you need also to make sure that your email marketing, your call centers, your social media marketing, your print advertising, your banner advertising, everything that your organization is doing is connected through to this campaign as well. There's no point in just releasing a small on one site and expecting that to work. You really need to combine all the campaigns together. So pushing all to all the channels. Then we move into the connect and convert under the lead management, and this is really when you've got people coming to the site that you want to be able to go and give them a personalized experience, be able to give them relevant content to what they're looking for. You need to be able to capture those leads in a way. So there's lots of tools out there that allow you to capture and monitor and retain those leads so that you can work with them. It's a convert and capture. This is kind of looking at why maybe within a shopping cart you're seeing abandonment. For let's just say it's a disaster relief site, you've got to look at the number of clicks that it requires for someone to get information or post information, because that's clearly quite critical. So tailoring the experience to be able to capture and close out is something that you need to plan around in terms of who your user base is. And then, as we said, the analytics component is regardless of where you go within the industry, analytics is now emerging. So the kind of the terms of big data and social media analytics are emerging, whereby you need to capture this information and you need to feed this into the next planning and creation of your new campaign and content. So where does Drupal fit in? Well, the idea is that Drupal should be able to help you complete this picture. So going from that initial mess of all those different technologies running within an organization, the vision of Drupal is to be able to give you all of these capabilities under one single platform. So if we look at the different technology segments that fit to create the picture that we've been talking about, we've got social media or user-generated content. We've got email automation, customer relationship management or CRM tools. Marketing automation tools are also important to be able to push out campaigns. Multi-channels, so be that mobile devices or tablets or kiosks even. Personalization, being able to draw in content that you've captured about the user to be able to personalize and better serve the people visiting your sites. Capturing the analytics, search engine optimization and even search engine marketing, key paid words. And digital asset management. These are the kind of the technology components that go to make up the WM picture. Drupal itself probably fits 3 of these out of the box. So from a social media standpoint, Drupal was created from a forum technology. That's where its history lies. So it's the capability to engage with the community is pretty much part and parcel of what Drupal does out of the box. Multi-channel, pretty much every deployment that we work with now is has what's called a responsive design, which is this idea that regardless of the device that you're working on, that the site that you've built will work and will display in the correct manner on that device. And Drupal is also very well known for its structure within its content that will improve SEO. So SEO is obviously driven by lots of different areas, but content structure and the site structure is very important to your SEO score. An SEO score essentially means that you get a higher ranking on a natural search engine like a Google or a Yahoo. Aqueous itself is also trying to give you options around the digital asset management space. We've just announced recently at the DrupalCon that occurred a couple of weeks ago something called MediaDrive, which is a software as a service offering for digital assets, so built on Drupal and available within the cloud. But for the other components, the idea really is to allow you the choice to choose best-of-breed technologies or the technologies that you've already invested into. So what we're finding is in the space of everyone talking about WM, so be that in the commercial software space, what we're finding is that they're trying to put everything under one banner. They're trying for you to invest into their technologies that meet these other components of WM. Drupal, because it's open, the idea is that we're trying to give you the option to be able to connect to all these different technologies in an open way, so that there's no limitation on you connecting to whatever that you wanting to connect to. And we think open source is the best place to deliver this capability around WM. We talked a little bit around this idea of speed of innovation, the fact that when new things come out on the web, so when new social media forums come out or new technologies, time and time again, Drupal and the open source community has shown that they're able to create these capabilities much, much faster than commercial software offerings. We talked a little bit just now about making use of these best-of-breed technologies or making use of existing software investments. I think it's up to you to investigate as you move forward, but what we found with clients that we've worked with is whilst everyone will say that they can work with any technology, the fact that their systems are so closed and that they don't give the ability to go and integrate, there's a difference between having access to the source code and being able to integrate with anything than just simple marketing messages of integration. So obviously open source and Drupal has open APIs and connectivity. You have obviously access ultimately to the source code of what Drupal is. But really there's two kind of components there. We've got no vendor lock-in, so the idea of, we've talked before about being able to create small campaigns and being able to try things out. What you really get with Drupal here is the ability to go and try these things out very quickly without cost. And if you then choose to go and move to another platform, there's no limitation of having to stick with Drupal. You're also not limited to the people that you want to work with. You get access to the complete community. You're not limited to working with Aqueous or one single vendor or one single provider. You have a whole community with this capability. And then obviously rapid and low-cost prototyping, the fact that there's no license, and if we often associate a license with being almost 50% of the investment that you'll make onto a web project, if you can remove that cost component from your project, that's a great starting point in terms of cost management. So what I wanted to do now was just dive into a report that, again, you can download from that link at the top of the screen there, which is a report from Forrester Research when they looked at running a survey to see whether people were considering open source to complete this web experience management picture. So if you go to acquia.com, and you can follow that link at the top of the page. So the first kind of item to pull out is actually the first two items that you see there. I can see that there's a red box around the security of the software. So the question that was posed is, why didn't you consider open source as a solution? And WCM stands for Web Content Management. So security and lack of enterprise support are kind of the two main components. And I started off this presentation by saying that really you get the best of both worlds. So if you're working with Drupal, you get the community, you get the speed of innovation, you get the no vendor lock-in, you get the cost savings on having no license. Combining that with an Aqueous, which is a global organization that helps you maintain and keep your site secure, and also gives you an enterprise support capability that's 24/7, that meets service level agreements that someone will get back to you within an hour and start working on your problem for you, really hits those 2 points, which is why we've seen Drupal accelerate so much adoption over the last few years, and this is why Aqueous is also growing and being the fastest growing software company in the US at the moment. So by removing those first two components, it really becomes a true enterprise option. I think this slide, which is looking at which of the following functionalities does your organization currently deploy or plan to deploy, I think this just talks to our slide of all of the different components that we saw under the Web Experience Management banner. So pretty much everyone is either building or planning to build mobile capability. They're wanting to have analytics built into their, or monitored and fed back into their content management system. Everyone's looking at personalization, which is marked as content targeting. I actually find this interesting. I've spoken to lots of organizations in the region over the last few years. Everyone talked about personalization for maybe 3 or 4 years, but only in the last year, I would say, that I've started to see people put money behind the idea of personalization. And I think that goes in 2 parts. One is the emergence of the analytics capabilities on social media and analytics in general. But also a kind of a realization that personalization is now something that you can measure and monitor, whereas before it was something that everyone knew might be a good idea, but was no real way to be able to track it. So basically what this is saying is that all the things that we talked about in terms of WEM are things that organizations are now considering building or have built already into their websites. So it's not something, we're not talking about something that's going to be around in 2020. We're talking about something that's around now and in the next 12 months. And this is the same, so pretty much across the board in terms of the different technologies, so be it from marketing automation or digital asset management, mobile development or CRM tool integration. This again is talking to the fact that over 50% of these organizations are already doing this or are planning to do this now as well. So WEM is something that's here and is happening today. And this obviously then talks to the fact that when we our vision of Drupal and the Drupal community is that we want the ability to go and connect to best of breed technologies. We're not asking you to build everything within Drupal or be limited to a commercial software. You should be able to use, if you've already made an investment in a technology, you should be able to use that. You should be able to take that investment and integrate that into your site. And that's very much shown in this survey response here, whereby organizations aren't looking for a complete one-stop shop for everything under Web Experience Management. They are looking for the capability to be able to tie in best-of-breed technologies. So the summary of recommendations from this report were for you to actively evaluate open source as an option. Given that the response is it's a technology that should be on there as something to consider. There are obviously reducing the cost of piloting as well and creating free pilots. We'll come to that in a minute in terms of what Aqueous has done to give you capabilities around creating these sites. Engaging with the community for information and validation. So you've obviously got a great community that's a part of this webinar and through other organizations that you can talk to about and make use of other people's content and creation. You've also got the community of all that module development that's out there that you can draw on and make use of. And if you are new to Drupal or you are part of Drupal, I do encourage you to get along to the Drupal meetups. They occur in pretty much all the major cities within Australia and the region and also around the world. And these are great places to go and talk to people if you've got questions about your Drupal deployment or you've got ideas that you want to explore. They're just social gatherings and they're available. You can look them up on drupal.org. And then the last point is really around that question around security and support. So the recommendation there was to explore open source support options carefully. I think there is a need to go and look at support and also to look at security, and this is what Aqueous is looking to deliver as an organization to you. So what is Aqueous doing? What are we doing here to help? I mentioned this on my last slide. In the top left, we are about to launch a distribution for Drupal for WM. A distribution is essentially a pre-built web capability that combines lots of modules together. So we've spent about 8 months now putting this together with a few different partners. So you've got commerce capabilities in there. You've got pretty much everything that we've been talking about under the WM umbrella as a ready-to-deploy website. And you're welcome, obviously, then to download this and to use this as a base for any new future website development. And starting as a customization point. On the top right, we've got Drupal Commons. So this is another distribution that Aqueous have put together. The latest version was released earlier in the year, and this is a community forum site. So again, this is something that you can go out and grab Drupal Commons and start using as a base point rather than having to start and custom building things from scratch. Aqueous MediaDrive I also touched on as well, so this fits under the digital asset management space. The idea is to give you a starting point if you've got lots of digital assets that you need them to be stored somewhere. So this combines our cloud offering and as a software as a service, so you can hook this up to your Drupal sites and have your digital assets pushed out to your Drupal sites in multiple places, and just an easier place to manage and control it. And we're also talking to a number of the software companies that we put earlier on the slide in terms of a technology alliance. So we're going out, we're working with these companies to go and build out the integrations and to make things easier for us to work with these companies. And that's occurring all the time, and there'll be an announcement, I believe, in the next week or so around that alliance partnership. So what I wanted to kind of finish up on is really kind of just looking at some examples that are around today within the web experience management space. The first one is the Lord's Resistance Army website, or LRA Crisis Tracker. So there's obviously, I know this from all of the attention that was given to Coney last year. This is a rebel group who are responsible for Africa's longest running armed conflict. The idea of this site is to allow lots of different people in lots of different locations across Central Africa to be able to submit content so they can track in real time where there are events that are associated with the LRA. And this is displayed onto the website in this multimedia format with maps. You can download reports, you can dig into the data. So very much a very advanced use of a website and built around Drupal platform, and also with a mobile capability. Previous Next, which are a Drupal shop in Australia, have built out the Australian Conservation Foundation. This has CRM integration with Razor's Edge. Also has marketing automation integration with Blue State digital tools. So again, kind of completing that web picture by having those integration points on a Drupal website. Again, with previous next is the Fred Hollows Foundation. So again, CRM integration with Razor's Edge, and also commerce integration with PayPal for their PCI compliance. So again, kind of completing that commerce picture that we had as part of WEM. Precedent over from Perth on the RSPCA website. They've integrated a commerce capability to be able to accept donations and also around the campaign side of things. Axial WM down in Canberra, another Drupal shop in Canberra, have built out multiple sites where on Drupal so they've got campaigns and case management, email automation, contacts, contribution management and events all managed within the Drupal platform. So again, much more than just a content site that they're pushing out using the Drupal platform. This one's from the US. This is the Pan Mass Challenge. This has commerce integration with Drupal Commerce and has CRM integration to track rider registrations. So again, a fully integrated site across that's more than just content that's pushing out. National Apartment Association, again from the US. I just drew this one out because it integrates with Commons 3.0. That's the distribution that Aqueous have put together, which is for forum and community engagement, so allows people to come and have an environment with which to engage with their community. So very much around the community aspect of WEM. Shared value, I've got TBA. I was waiting on details of this one, but they didn't come through in time, so we'll skip that one. So this is pretty much it. So I guess what I wanted to cover today was to give you a bit of background on web experience management. The key takeaways, kind of drawing back to the beginning, was to give you that education, to give you, to make you aware of the term that we're using and that the other software companies are using and what the industry is using. Give you a bit of background behind it and the technologies that go to make up WEM, and really to let you know that Drupal is an option for you to consider to complete this capability. So thank you very much for listening. I'll check in with Christine now to see if there are any questions.
Yes, Chris, thank you for that. We do have a couple of questions, and just a reminder for everyone, this is your time. If you do have anything you want to ask Chris about the WEM or anything else that he has covered on Drupal, please do type them in the question box and I will address them one by one. So a couple of them that have come through from the start was, Sally was just asking, is Drupal suitable for a very small organization, and what level of tech experience do you need to use it? Like, is it usable by a non-IT trained person?
Yep, that's so I can talk to that. The aim of Drupal is that it can be used from very small sites through to very large engagements. It's certainly something. So in terms of so initially the answer is yes. In terms of use, I guess there's 2 points to bring out. There's obviously the website development part of it, and that you obviously have the ability, if you've got developers that you have that can build out the site, obviously that can be run in-house. You also have a large community to draw on in terms of working from individual contractors through to very large Drupal shops to help you with the build. I'd also draw in the community, the meetups as well. So let's just say that you do go ahead and start to build the site yourselves. You have the ability to go to the meetups that occur in each of the cities, and it's your chance to go, and if your developer has got stuck on a certain part of the web development, they can certainly go ahead and just quiz people at this meetup and essentially getting free advice on how to build out their site. Aqueous is also obviously making things like the WEM distribution that we're deploying to make things easier, so you don't have to start from scratch. You have a template with which to start from that you can just modify. So that's obviously on the website creation side. Then obviously out the back of that, you've then got the management and administration. The content creation part can be very simple. It really is depending on what you're wanting to do with the site. But yeah, it's a content management system. The idea ultimately is to give you a framework with which to push content out. We work with a small surfing site here in Australia, whereby they collect surf reports and push those out. They deploy onto Aqueous Cloud, which means that we run and look after their operations. We give them full application support, and the only guy in the office is there to create content. He pushes content out. They don't have any technical resource that they need to maintain on staff. They can essentially outsource that as a service. That so you have the full option is the answer. You can either build it in-house, maintain it in-house, or you can have third parties help you with that. But the content side of it, yes, is very easy to use.
We have a question here. You talked before about digital asset management. Can you clarify a little bit more on what it is?
Yeah, really, it's the idea that I'm trying to put a time frame around it. Maybe 5 years, we've started to see that websites are much more than just written content. It's no longer just text. We've got video, we've got and images and pictures, and that brings us its own special problem. So text and website pages we can store, but what's called digital assets, these images and videos, need also to be stored somewhere. They need to be tagged, they need to be managed, and what digital asset management does, it allows you to store them somewhere, but it then allows you to go and search and find. So you might think, oh, I want to make use of that video that we created 2 years ago, or that image of that guy standing in front of a wind farm. The idea is it's an interface for you to be able to go and find that asset that you've created internally and then reuse that on your site. So it's a storage and management capability, and the industry technology term for that is digital asset management, or DAM.
There were a few questions here in terms of comparison between Drupal, WordPress, and Joomla. Maybe you can just give a brief overview on how, what stands out in terms of Drupal, how easy it is to learn, comparing with the other, I guess, open source platforms.
Yeah, and this, I guess, will be my own personal opinion. So certainly, I don't want you, if I say something wrong that offends someone, I certainly don't mean to. My view on it is, and I guess where I've heard this validation is, you've got WordPress that's out there that is very popular for blogging sites, for small microsites that are very simple, and we're certainly seeing that reflective in the percentage of numbers of WordPress sites around the world. On the other hand, if I need to get something that kind of meets this web experience management vision, or I need something that is secure, or I need something that is scalable, so I'm expecting lots of visitors, I then have Drupal as being my open source option. So that's kind of the other end of the scale. So where we tend to see that the division is security and scalability and functionality, is when you switch over. Joomla, the way it's been described to me, is it kind of sits between the two. So it's not something that's as easy to use as for these smaller sites as WordPress, and it doesn't necessarily have the security and scalability components of Drupal, and it's certainly not supported by such a larger community. So what we tend to see is, if you're going into open source, and you're wanting something that has donations and campaigns, they're looking at Drupal, or they're looking at commercial software. We wouldn't expect to see a WordPress site being built out for these kind of capabilities. We do see that generally in Southeast Asia, but that tends to be, they try it with WordPress, and then after a few months realize they've lost that investment. They need to start again on something that they can build out on. So that's kind of my opinion on where the three fit together on a sliding scale of security and scalability.
Thanks, Chris. Just also to let everyone know that last year we did a couple of webinars on Drupal, Joomla and WordPress individually. So there are 3 different webinars on each of the platforms. So as part of my follow-up email, I will send you the link to those webinars so you can access them and have a look at for yourself in terms of demo and the different features that they have. Kathy is asking here, as an organization at the beginning of exploring web options, where do you suggest that we start?
Huh. It's a great question. I think it needs to be driven towards completing a goal. I think with all technology, it needs to be an enabler. I think we're now getting to the point with technology that it's there to be able to kind of meet your vision. So it certainly starts with what is your vision, what are you trying to achieve? Is it a campaign that you're wanting to run? Is it that you want to attract more people to provide donations? And following that that cycle model of create, connect, convert and capture, you need to, that's kind of the process with which to go through, but you need to kind of start with the vision of what you're looking to do, and then follow that model round, because the technology will fall out of that. So let's just say that you decide that you need to have personalization, or that you really need to be able to capture the components of when people are hitting your site. The technology will fall out of what you're looking to do. So the starting point has to be the vision of what you're looking to do. If it's a case of, where do you go from there, if you have got the vision, you're certainly welcome to connect with ourselves, and we can either have a chat with you, or we can connect you through to the agencies, the Drupal shops that do this kind of work. And I guess just on that, just to be clear, so Aqueous doesn't get involved in building websites. We're really here to help support Drupal adoption. Commercially, we provide that hosting platform and the tools and the support. So we're happy to really provide you impartial advice on whether Drupal's the right platform for you, and maybe start that journey.
Talking about that, Greg was asking you, is the Axial WM demo and distribution free?
It is, yeah. So it's not available yet. We've got it as a demo that we can show. If someone wants a demo of it, you can get in contact with us and we can show you. It's just being finalised at the moment. When it is, I think it will be deployed probably in June. It will be pushed out to Drupal.org, and you will be able to download that as a distribution for free and use it for free.
So Wendy is asking, our organization already has a website running on Drupal. Is the digital management system just a module that they need to activate?
Yeah, so the MediaDrive, which is the one that I referenced, is a service that Aqueous has just launched. It's a SaaS service, which means software as a service. What we're talking about there is taking your images and your videos and putting those into a cloud hosting that we manage for you, and then effectively meaning that you don't have to build out that technology or go and buy commercial software. Essentially, you can buy the storage and have it as a service, and you can hook that up to your Drupal sites. So again, if that's something of interest, happy, my email address is at the bottom of the page. We can certainly show you what that the MediaDrive does. Be it it's outside of your existing Drupal website. It's a service that we've created to meet lots of people asking about what they can do with digital assets within a Drupal environment.
Going back into comparison with other platforms, someone just asking, is it more complex? Is Drupal more complex than Weebly? Is it more flexible than Weebly? And yeah, comparison to that.
I don't actually know Weebly. I'm happy to, again, if you get in contact, I can put you in touch with my architect, who's I'll probably put you in touch with our chief architect. He's based in Brisbane, to kind of answer that. I think it's as with all technology, it's the idea is it can be put together in a way. You could start very simple, or you could go on and kind of add lots of components to make it quite a complex site, and that's really up to you. In terms of technology capability, the aim with modules is to make the development a lot easier. So 10 years ago when we were building websites, we were writing JSPs and you had to push out HTML. The idea of this is that you then get someone who writes a module for you and you can just plug in a module with that functionality, so that really we're moving away from someone having to custom code to just having to configure kind of building blocks in order to construct a website. So on that, I think Drupal's leading the way. I worked in the portal space when that was emerging with companies that were bought up by BEA and then Oracle, and kind of familiar with merging technologies like SharePoint at the time that have become very dominant. It's a very similar concept of having kind of sites that you can construct rather than having to custom code, and Drupal's very much leading the way in that space. So it's definitely a visionary and a leader in the web space.
So can you develop a test website in Drupal without it being hosted?
Yes, it's so you can certainly have a web server, so something like an Apache running on a local desktop, and it's the same as any web development. You can push your files onto that and you can have it running on your laptop without it need to be hosted. If whoever asks that question, we actually have a free Aqueous cloud environment that we would welcome to make available, in hoping this year that we're going to make that free to everyone, and we're going to announce it. It's currently in beta, but the idea is to give everyone a permanently free development and staging environment with which to kind of build Drupal websites, so that you could take advantage of all the tools, and that kind of fits in with our vision of making Drupal easier and giving you the tools to make better websites in Drupal. As I said, it's in beta. I'm happy to make that available on a case-by-case basis, but longer term, and hopefully at some point this year, we'll make a general announcement where you can just go to the website and have an environment ready to go. But if that person wants an environment, then please get in contact and we'll happy to help you out.
Right. I'm just going back to the previous question that you answered. I guess she was just wondering also, do you need a developer to, we touched on this briefly before, but do you need a developer to be able to manage Drupal, or if someone's capable at using WordPress, is it easily transferable in terms of the skills?
Well, once the website's built, there's no reason to need the developer. So you can, I think where organizations maintain a developer is that building out your web tends to be an ongoing activity, because you might, something new might come along where, let's just say when Pinterest arrived, you might say, well, we absolutely need to have Pinterest integrated into our site. That's what developers do. They take the requirements from the business and they keep on building new functionality into the site. You could certainly say, look, we're going to build our site and then just be able to use it, and at that point you don't need a developer, and yes, you'll just be able to create content in the same way as you would within any other content management system, including WordPress, to be able to kind of push content up within something that's been pre-built for you.
We have a question here from someone who works for a small not-for-profit health support organisation in New Zealand. So their initial goal is to have all their documentation online, accessed from their homes. Is something like Drupal, would it be a good start?
I think that would be one that probably worthwhile having a chat offline about. So again, feel free to contact me on my email address. I'll put you in touch with our architect. This is advice. Basically, we want to be able to let you know whether Drupal is a viable platform for your plans before you even go and start to engage with web developers. So we're happy to be that service for the community, to be able to say, is Drupal a good option for you to use here? We're not obviously just going to tell you to use Drupal when it's not the right thing to do. So that's why it's just with a technical resource rather than anybody else within the organisation. So if you get in contact with me, I'll put you in touch with David, and he can tell you whether it's a good use case or not.
And I will also include Chris's contact details on my email later on, or you can see it on his slide at the moment. Just two last questions here, Chris. Oh, sorry, this something came up when you talk about consultation. Is there a charge for consultation?
So we're happy to help people evaluate Drupal, and there's no charge for that. We obviously do that all the time. If any kind of organization comes to us and says, is Drupal a good fit for what we're looking to do, there's no charge for that. In terms of consulting effort, if you said, I need someone to come and spend 3 days architecting this out, then obviously we'd probably look to charge for that, because I don't have the resource to be able to assign someone for 3 days. But if it's hour-long meetings on several occasions to talk about what you're looking to do and whether there's a fit, we're happy to do that free of charge.
Okay, just two last questions here. What can companies do to improve their SEO ranking? Just some tips, I guess.
That's a whole other presentation on its own. So there's two categories basically. It's called white hat and black hat. So white hat are all the nice legal things that you're supposed to do to improve your rankings. So content structure and tagging on the site and kind of what they're trying to do from a web search engine is make sure that you're building your sites in a way that their crawlers can understand. Black hat is more the art of where you hire an SEO specialist who might link you off to different sites, who might have different techniques, and really what they're doing is exploiting the algorithm that web search engines use. So it's more of it's a contemporary measure, because a Google or a Microsoft will always constantly update to make sure that the people who are trying to bypass rankings can't do so. So I guess from a software development, all we can really ever recommend is the white hat, which is site structure and the content and the tagging. So one of the things that Aqueous, one of the tools that I kind of talked about on the Aqueous Cloud platform, there's a SEO scorecard that goes, I think it runs about 50 tests on your site to tell you the things that you need to fix in Drupal to make sure your site is optimized for SEO. On the black hat side, you can go and hire an SEO consultant, and they can work their magic.
That yes, I think SEO is one of the things that a lot of people are interested in, so we will certainly look at having a separate webinar to, specifically on that topic. The last question here we have is slightly not exactly, I guess, to do with Drupal, the website, as we've discussed most of this morning, but Martin is just interested in knowing how important is social media tracking for a not-for-profit with limited personnel and finances. Is there any good open source tools available?
I think that's probably a question for your particular community. Obviously, I can talk to monitoring and measuring on social media, but kind of value to your particular company, I think that's a case by case and probably a community discussion to have with your peers. Do I think it's valuable? Yes and no. So it's the way I would look at it is it's an amazing amount of data that you can exploit, but you need to know that you're doing the right thing. Because ultimately, if you just look at social media, all you'll find out is that Justin Bieber is popular, and is that really useful for you? Not really. So you need to be a bit targeted around it. So it could start from looking at your own content that you're capturing. So you could start to see who's visiting your site. Are they willing to fill out a profile? Can you start to segment those users? If you can capture that kind of segmentation of the people that you're looking for, you can certainly then use social media to go and explore those segments further and create new target campaigns. The cost, yeah, I mean, you're probably familiar with, there's a term out there at the moment called big data. Big data, as it describes, it does cover very large amounts of data, and this is really where social media comes in. If statistic from a few years ago was like there was 30 billion bits of data that were coming out of Facebook on a monthly basis. huge amounts of data out there for you to go and explore. In that space, there is an open source technology called Hadoop, which allows you to go and analyze these vast amounts of different varying data. So whilst that technology is free, it's open source, finding a consultant or a service provider that's built something on top of that platform is probably expensive. Yeah, it's an area that's emerging, and anything that's emerging tends to have a cost associated with it. So you can be very specific and targeted by maybe identifying the segments that you want to work with, and then building up your social media analytics from there.
Great, thank you, Chris. That was basically the end of the questions that we had for today. So thanks again, Chris, for your presentation, and thank you for everyone for participating and asking the questions. And as I mentioned earlier, you will get a copy of the slides, a link to the recording so you can access it later or share it with your colleagues, and also some additional information about the webinars that we had, and also Chris's contact details and anything else. If you do have any questions after this, please feel free to contact myself or Chris directly. Otherwise, please enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you again in our next webinar. Thanks, everyone.